Isabella Guzman. In August 2013, Isabella Guzman brutally murdered her mother Yun Mihoy inside their Colorado home, then became famous online for her bizarre attitude in the courtroom. Guzman was just 18 years old when she brutally murdered her mom. Her family was stunned. She'd had behavioral issues even as a child, but loved ones described her as sweet and good-hearted. At the time of her arrest, Guzman pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Her doctors found she suffered from schizophrenia, and a judge ordered that she remain in a mental health institution until she was no longer a threat to herself or others. After 7 years of hospitalization, Guzman claimed her schizophrenia was under control and petitioned to be released from the institution. At the same time, footage from her 2013 court hearing resurfaced and started making the rounds on TikTok, gaining her a confounding fan base. By the time police arrived, Isabella Guzman had already fled the scene. They quickly launched a manhunt, informing the public that Guzman was armed and dangerous. Officers found her in a nearby parking garage the next afternoon. On the day of her arraignment hearing on September 5, 2013, Guzman had to be dragged out of her cell. And when she finally got to the courtroom, she made a series of bizarre faces at the camera, smirking and pointing at her eyes. Taylor Smith. A teenager who pleaded guilty to pushing her younger friend off a 60-foot bridge in Washington was sentenced to 2 days in jail. Taylor Smith, 19, was also ordered to spend 38 days on a work crew after pleading guilty earlier this month to reckless endangerment for shoving Jordan Holgerson, 17, off a bridge in Moulton Falls Regional Park on August 7th. A 10-second video clip of the incident captured on a cell phone went viral. Smith must also pay a fine of $300 and have no contact with Holgerson for 2 years. Holgerson suffered 6 broken ribs and punctured lungs. Clark County District Court Judge Darvin Zimmerman noted the severity of Holgerson's injuries before delivering Smith's sentence. Before sentencing Smith, the judge heard from Holgerson, her mother, and the defendant. Holgerson was so emotional that she had a victim's advocate read her statement. Her mother, Janelle Holgerson, told the judge she believed Smith acted intentionally and should serve as many days in jail as her daughter spent in the hospital after the incident, a total of 3 days. Smith apologized to Holgerson in court Wednesday and said she has grown as a person and learned to think before she acts. Smith was led away in handcuffs following the sentence. Erica Stefanko. The woman who was found guilty by a jury in the 2012 murder of an Army veteran faced a judge for sentencing. Erica Stefanko, 38, was sentenced to life in prison for her role in the murder of Ashley Biggs. She will be eligible for parole after serving 30 years. Stefanko, along with several family members of the victim and the convicted, spoke during the sentencing. Stefanko, a mother of 4 children, was convicted in November 2020 of killing the 25-year-old Biggs in 2012. At the time of the murder, Stefanko was married to Chad Cobb, who was in a custody battle with Biggs over their daughter. Biggs worked then as a pizza delivery driver. She was lured to a closed business in New Franklin in June 2012, where she was assaulted and strangled to death. Stefanko and Cobb then dumped Biggs' body in a Wayne County field before they returned home and washed off evidence of the crime. Biggs' body was found the following day. Law enforcement officers located Cobb hiding in a nearby wooded area and arrested him shortly after. Ashley Biggs' daughter also made her voice heard. Her scathing remarks brought Stefanko to tears. Cobb pleaded guilty in the case in 2013 and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility for parole. Stefanko was arrested in November 2019 for her involvement in Biggs' murder and indicted on numerous charges, which initially included aggravated murder, kidnapping, and aggravated robbery. Danielle Kellogg. The mother of 7-month-old Bailey Marie Dion recalled her as a blue-eyed angel, ripped from me by a drunken driver guilty of killing my perfect baby. Denise Hine, Bailey's mother, asked the judge to impose the maximum prison sentence upon Danielle N. Kellogg, who admitted causing the November crash that killed Bailey. Kellogg, who was impaired by drugs and alcohol when she crashed her SUV into an oncoming car, killing an infant, has been sentenced to 15 years in jail. Danielle Kellogg, 24, learned her fate in Erie County Court. Kellogg has a blood alcohol content of at least 0.13 at the time of the crash last November on Southwestern Boulevard in the town of Brant. Kellogg's SUV crossed the center line and collided with a car being driven by Denise Hine of Hamburg. In the back seat was Hines' 7-month-old daughter, Bailey Marie Dion, who died in the crash. Kellogg pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter in March. Prosecutors say she had cocaine and marijuana in her system at the time of the crash. It was her second DWI crash. Kellogg issued a tearful apology in court before Judge Michael D'Amico handed down the maximum sentence. Alexis Sexton. A teenager has been sentenced to 15 years in prison for causing injuries to a 14-month-old boy she was babysitting. Alexis Sexton, 19, pleaded guilty in September to injuring Noah Philhauer while babysitting on March 26 in Batavia. Sexton was later indicted on April 3 for 2 counts of felonious assault and child endangering. Noah Philhauer's mother, Victoria Gans, was also indicted for her failure to provide care after he was injured. In addition, Sexton was formally charged around the same time for a separate child endangering case. Authorities said 2-year-old Cadence Reynolds suffered 3 fractured fingers, who was also in Sexton's care. A grand jury indicted Sexton on child endangering and felonious assault charges. Prosecutors said she intentionally dropped the boy, Noah Gans, causing brain bleeding. Sexton was taken back into custody Wednesday and will be arraigned again Thursday. Gans brought her son March 27 to a hospital, and deputies said her account of what happened was inconsistent with the child's injuries. Mitchell Blair. In 2015, 35-year-old Mitchell Blair was living on the east side of Detroit with her 4 children when she was evicted for not paying rent. Relatives say she was unable to keep a job and would always call them for money, but those calls stopped when they refused to help and advised her to get a job and go back to school. Mitchell Blair apparently disregarded their advice because on the morning of March 24, 2015, she was served an eviction notice. But she wasn't there. That's when a crew from the 36th District Court went inside and began removing furniture from the home. What they removed next wasn't furniture, and it would send shockwaves through the community. Inside a white deep freezer located in the living room of the home was the frozen body of a teenage girl wrapped in a large plastic bag. When police arrived, they made yet another discovery, the body of a boy right underneath her. A neighbor didn't waste any time disclosing Mitchell Blair's whereabouts. Police found her at another neighbor's house with her 2 children, aged 8 and 17, but her other children, Stephen Gage Berry, 9, and Stoney and Blair, 13, were missing. After some brief questioning, Mitchell Blair was arrested for murder. When police took her away, they said she proclaimed, "I'm sorry." The medical examiner ruled their deaths homicides and determined that they had been in the freezer for at least a couple of years. Blair told the judge that she did not feel any remorse over her actions. "They had no remorse for what they did to my son. There was no other option. There's no excuse for rape. I would kill them again." Prosecutor Karen Goldfarb stated that they found no evidence of rape. Wayne County Circuit Judge Edward Joseph terminated Mitchell Blair's parental rights of the surviving children. Mitchell Blair pleaded guilty in June 2015 to 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder and is now serving a life sentence at the Huron Valley Correctional Facility in Ypsilanti, Michigan without the possibility of parole.